So Natalie spent over 20 years in critical care, emergency medicine, trauma nursing. She's an NLP master practitioner and trauma healing specialist. So what she found after, unpacking everything that she went through and experienced over those 2 decades was that she started to change everything, like what she charged, how she leads, who she became as a person, not just being a nurse. Natalie, in your work, what do you see happening inside a nurse's nervous system when she's trying to build something outside the bedside ecosystem and it isn't working? Like she keeps running into those same barriers.
We see this all the time, and it's because the ecosystem, the bedside, it trains not only your behavior and the things that you do and the habits and things that you've created, but it trains you at your very core, your identity. And so after all those years, your nervous system has identified what is safe. And so when you step outside of that, it reads freedom as a threat. And this is why it's not a mindset problem. It's a programming problem because we can never step into something that the nervous system has flagged as unsafe. And so when you try to build something, you're saying you want freedom, your nervous system and your amygdala is firing off and saying this is life threatening and reads it as that. And because we were trained to wait for permission. We were trained to get raises based on our performance. We were trained to prove ourselves through shift after shift, just self abandonment and sacrifice and exhaustion. And if you think about it, you had to be chosen to be evaluated and make sure that you put everyone else's needs in front of your own. So when you step into being your own boss, making your own decisions instead of asking everyone else if it's okay, your nervous system is like, whoa, is this even safe? Is this life threatening? Because it feels that way. And so it's definitely a shock to the system.
Now, Steph, I have a huge question for you because you are the nurse that Natalie is talking about. You experienced that. So, what was actually running underneath throughout those 3 years for you?
Well, eventually, before I found my coach, teaching me the principles and how to change how I operated, like Natalie said, the foundational system, the processing system, all those things, all the troubles that I went through, that's what built the Sovereign Code. So the things that held me back, and these are things that, like you said, Tatum, we see every nurse watching. They've been carrying these. They go through the same thing, the same struggles, and we've named them as strings. Natalie and I have put our heads together and realized that these are the strings that tie us to corporate healthcare. And that's that programming that Natalie was talking about. So first off, the money string. This is the first thing I had to face when I realized how I valued myself. Corporate healthcare spent years teaching me that my worth equals my hourly rate. Whatever they were willing to pay me, that was the number. So when I started building my own business and I had to name my own price, I quoted it and then I would immediately second guess myself and start over explaining and trying to figure out why I had to define why I would charge that. I was almost apologizing. And that's the money string. And if you've ever lowered your rate for a client or ever questioned your worth or ever thought that just doesn't make sense, how can I really charge that much? This is you. You know what I'm talking about. Every single client I undercharged, and even the scope, I would do things over and over and extend myself for them just because I felt like I was charging too much. The money string did not stay at the bedside. It came with me and it costed me. I can't even tell you how much it cost me.
When you talk about pricing, it's been an external decision for so long that our nervous system is not used to it. And it's definitely not proof that you're not ready. The brain is going to brain. What it is, though, is it's recognition because your body is
Yes.
telling you where your programming is.
Yes. And on that, Natalie, the time string, right? You already started talking about this. I believed that income required me trading time for it. My value was owned by a corporation. They told me what I was worth and then told me the time I needed to exchange for it. So that was the more money, more hours concept, right? Think about what you earned last year. Now divide this by your actual hours, your charting hours. Okay, the commute hours, and that include the hours you're physically home but not mentally at work. What's that number? Because that is what they decided your time is worth. And somewhere along the way, we all agreed to it because that's how we were programmed. But you can't build a scalable income from that. You just recreated the same ceiling in a different business in a different building, which is exactly the struggle I was having.
So, nurses who are trying to build consulting practices on the side, they're actually fighting this invisible belief that if they're not actively working, they shouldn't be earning. Is that what I'm hearing?
Every, every single day. And it is invisible. So that's the danger. You think you have a strategy problem. I thought the same thing. No, you have a string problem. And that leads me to
Mm.
the identity string. This is the one that totally breaks everybody. This is the one that no one wants to say out loud. And I did not know who I was outside of being a nurse. That title, I'm a nurse, it was my entire identity, fused. So when I tried to step into something new, like a legal nurse consultant or a business owner, my brain treated it, like Natalie says, as a threat. Not an opportunity, but a threat. Because I did not know what I was without scrubs. I felt like a fraud. That's that imposter syndrome every single day.
Okay, so Natalie, for those nurses that are watching right now, how do they know if this is actually them?
So right now, if someone were to ask you, tell me about yourself, who are you? Like, take the badge off. I don't want to hear about your credentials, the letters behind your name, or where you work, or anything to do with nursing. Who are you? Not what you do. Who are you? How does that feel? Is that uncomfortable? Because did you immediately want to default to, I'm Natalie, I work in shock trauma, I've been a nurse for, that was my line. And that is the identity string. And so you lose yourself. I did completely, totally lost myself in the system. And I want you to understand this is not a flaw. This is what happens when this system builds identity through your self-sacrifice and through your performance and this external validation, which is where we found our safety in. So every single time you try to become something outside of what the program has told you that you are, a consultant or a business owner or a speaker, your body's going to say, I don't know if this is safe. I don't know this version of me. And that's the work. It's not pretending, which is where the imposter syndrome comes. It's not trying to get more motivation or hype yourself up, but it's dismantling that identity that was built for survival. So who you really are can come forward.
And it follows you into every business, which
Mhm.
leads to the productivity string, because this is where we have glorified exhaustion and we call it work ethic. And we've all bought into this because this is how we were taught. So I was burnt out and I was burning out over and over and over. And then I looked around and I was wondering, why did freedom still feel so far away? Why did life feel the same? Well, be honest with yourself right now. I'm going to ask you a question. When you take a day and you do nothing, genuinely take the day off and do nothing, do you feel rest or do you feel guilt? Because if the answer is guilt, then you're still running on your old operating system. And that operating system does not stay at the hospital. It follows you into your business, into your relationships, into your health.
Steph, is this why nurses build businesses that burn them out just as fast as the hospital did?
This is exactly why. The freedom you worked towards feels exactly like what you left because the productivity string came with you. So that leads me into another string, the conformity string. And this is the last string. The conformity string is this is what corporate teaches us. There's only one right path. This is the climb that corporate ladder, do what everyone else is doing, basically telling us not to trust our own design. So I copied that. I started climbing the corporate ladder, being a manager and director in operations. And then I copied other LNCs when I tried to do my own business, other coaches. I kept looking for the thing that would work. 3 years of following someone else's map to a destination only I could truly figure out in the end, none of it fit, none of it worked.
So what you both are saying is that this is not by any means like a nurse's fault. This is kind of by design, like how they have been programmed.
Not kind of, Tatum. It was by design. Corporate, they needed compliant, dependable, controllable workers. There's a system that's built, created for exactly that. And I mean, no one
Mhm.
told us nurses when you try to step outside of this and do anything else, like all this goes with you. Every single cord, every single string comes with you. No one told us that on purpose. But that is why Natalie and I created the Sovereign Code. You can build this, you can use this, you can dismantle and cut these strings while you're growing your business. The Sovereign Code gives you the identity that makes the business actually work.
If you want support when you hit those walls and you actually want to restore yourself to who you were born in this world to be, because you know that you have a calling on your life, this is for you. This is where we take that old operating system and we dismantle all the parts that say that you can't be your own boss and step into a business that you designed for you that you love.
Want full access to this training and hundreds of others? Join the NLNCN today for access to our full video vault, networking opportunities, attorney-facing strategies, and more.